My name is Cormoran Strike. Wondered if we could have a quick chat.
You're not a cop.
I was. Royal Military Police. I'm a private investigator now. Just want to ask a few questions.
I'm Robin Ellicott. I've always dreamt about a career like this.
So, partners, yeah?
Is that a new girl in your office?
She has a massive engagement ring.
Like that stop him from trying.
Private detective. It's a bit Roger Rabbit.
I like the work I'm doing now.
I've read about you, Mr. Strike.
Are you attracted to troubled women? Or that they become trouble because of you? Perhaps I should ask you.
The inquest verdict said suicide, but I think she was murdered.
You have no idea.
About what?
Anything.
A hero dies the same way Quarren did. Someone made him reenact it.
Bloody hell.
Someone going to a lot of effort to get inside my head.
Justice has not been done.
I know you're scared, but we're on your side.
You'll come running back! You always do!
Sit down. You okay?
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry about that.
It's fine.
How can I help you?
I'm the new temp. I'm here for the week.
No, I cancelled that. Definitely.
They're pretty strict on refunds.
Okay. I'll just clear this.
So, do you want me to?
Yeah, just, you know.
I'll be in my office.
Okay.
I had thought about writing crime for years. Before I wrote Cuckoo's Calling, I wanted to go back to the beginning. I just wanted it to be about the writing. I had this dream that I might be able to get maybe 3 books out under the pseudonym before anyone realised it was me. The pseudonym was just a way of disconnecting myself from all of the baggage that comes with being me.
Cormoran Strike? That's an unusual name.
Nobody's ever mentioned it before.
Who's Calling is really a chance to introduce Cormoran Strike to the world. He's a detective with one leg.
No.
Somewhat in debt. He doesn't have that many clients.
And an old acquaintance turns up in his office and asks him to investigate what the police have decided was a suicide.
People have been coming all day to pay tribute to Lula Landry, who fell to her death.
And at the same time, he has a new assistant, Robin Ellicott, and Cuckoo really finds these two characters coming together. Robin trying to discover her love for detecting, and us learning about Cormoran and his skills.
This is a car registration in its normal location.
All right.
If you were to get inside and check something for me.
Strike is entirely imaginary in that he just walked into my head.
He's a modern guy, he's fought in Helmand. He's also a guy kind of out of time.
You know what's ruined everything is digitalisation. Letters,
gone. What happened to love letters?
Digitalisation.
That's what I said. You're not going to write a love mail, are you?
What really sets Strike apart from other detectives is he has encountered evil, and he does know what it looks like and smells like, and he's ready to act on it if it needs to be confronted. Cocteau described it as being the life is an infernal machine.
I think when Robin arrived, Strike has a little bit of surprise and a bit of a sense of there's something different here, and she is the bright light, she's the new thing that comes in.
Robin is the most purely lovable character I've ever written.
You know, she starts as a temporary secretary, and then by the end of book 3, she's business partner, and she's kind of learning on the job. And she's very practical, and she's very passionate, and she's very grounded.
Lula Landry came in here a lot, didn't she? Vashti was like always in her lists, like the top 10 things to do in London.
The world of the Cuckoo's Calling just came to life on London streets as we were filming.
I really enjoy the fact that these books are grounded in the real world.
Action.
And I was sent to an office in Denmark Street years ago, and I was only there a week. And I loosely based Strike's offices on that place where I temped, yeah.
So whether it was Soho and Denmark Street, where he lives, Mayfair, which was the kind of money of Lula Landry's story, and also Hackney and Dalston, which is the sort of new London of cool fashion. So those 3 areas were broken down for Cuckoo.
Excuse
Yeah,
me?
we're going with the feathers.
We're doing the Milan shoot.
But there's something about TV, detectives on TV, they just work.
It was you. You killed Lula.
But you chose crime. Why did you choose crime?
Because I love crime fiction. I've always loved it. I read a lot of it, and I think that the Harry Potter books in many ways are whodunits in disguise. Well, I think you've got 6 whodunits and 1 why was it. So I enjoy that kind of... I enjoy I suppose, the Golden Age book. That's very much what I was trying to do with these books. To take that finite number of suspects, the genuine whodunit style, but make it very contemporary, really bring it up to date, and make sure that this is a credible person with a credible backstory for nowadays. Yeah, so it was a no-brainer. I always wanted to do it. I had that ambition for a long time.
So how did that love affair with crime start for you?
Probably, I know I was reading Christie's when I was quite young. All of the big 4, the Golden Age big 4, Marsh, Allingham, Christie and Sayers, I've read and loved. In fact, my very favourite of those 4 is an Allingham. Yeah. And she's the least known, but it's The Tiger and the Smoke, which I think is a phenomenal novel. I read that one very fraught Christmas when I had a newborn baby. A genuinely terrifying villain, The Tiger and the Smoke. I was consciously trying to write something that was a very, I suppose, quite a classical whodunit. And I wanted to pit a single character, not to have the forensic team, which I think has been done supremely well and has been done much less well. Do you know what I mean? So there are a lot of followers after that particular. And I wanted to do something very different, and I wanted it to be one character. I also, if I'm honest, saw it as a way of using some life experience that I've had that I never expected to get, insight into different worlds where I never imagined myself venturing. And a private eye, if invited into those worlds, can explore them in a way that a police officer can't. If he's been invited in, if he's being employed, it's double-edged, and that's an interesting conundrum that you have to have allegiance to the person who hired you. But I could see lots of different places to go with that. And then he's a veteran, and I know a few veterans, and my oldest and probably my best friend is still serving. So I had a kind of brains trust for the military that was there and available. And I know that people like Cormoran are out there. You know, people do come out of the forces and they do go into the security world, but they certainly can also follow the route he's followed. So it was plausible, but it was exciting novelistically. I mean, if I'm absolutely honest, one of the things I absolutely love about this genre is, unlike Harry, where clearly there was a through line, there was an overarching story, a beginning and an end, you're talking about discrete stories.
Mm-hmm.
So while your detective lives, you can keep giving him cases. I do have, though, because it's me and because I'm obsessive and because that's just the way I have to work when I'm dealing with characters, I do know a lot about him, and I do know a lot about where he's going, and I know a lot about where Robin's going. So that story, yes, I do have plans for.
So how much detail do you figure out before you start? Do you plan?
A lot.
Do you do a lot of research?
Both.
Yeah?
This, I did a vast plan, but you should see the plan I've got for the third strike, which is insane. It's the best planned book I will have ever written. It's really, yeah.
So,
lot to keep in. I've got to keep track of a lot of different strands in that book. So I've got this. Where you said to me earlier, we were talking about spreadsheets. It's like a spreadsheet, and it is color coded, so I can keep track of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's mad.
I used to do that.
You don't need to do it anymore.
No, my process changed. It wasn't that I decided I didn't need to do it anymore. It just stopped working for me. I used to, particularly when I was writing the Kate Brannigans, which are multi-stranded, I used to write them on different coloured file cards because I didn't have Excel in those days, you know. So as I said, I did that. I used to have like pink file cards and blue file cards and yellow file cards for the different strands of the story, and it was almost like Countdown. You know, I'll have 2 from the blue pile and 1 from the yellow pile, Carol. You know, 1 from the pink pile. No, I think I'll have another 1 from blue. And that was how I kind of planned it out in those days. And then I was about 15, 16 novels into my career, and it just stopped working.
That's terrifying.
I couldn't break it down into
no.
chunks anymore. It just,
I don't want it to stop working.
But what I have now is very different, but also very exciting and terrifying. So I just sort of start and then see where I'm going. I'm kind of an overall arc of the story. And I know 1 or 2 of the key points along the way, but a lot of it is just, where do we go next? So that tends to mean that when I get to the end, the bit that needs most work is the beginning, because that's where I wasn't quite sure where I was going. But once you've got your plan and your spreadsheet, do you have a set working day, or did you have a set number of words, or do you have a set number of hours?
No, I never do a set number of words. The reason I don't do a set number of words is I sometimes consider that I've had a really good day if all I've done is delete stuff. Yeah. And sometimes you've had a fantastic day if you have scribbled a few words down but done a lot of thinking. Mm-hmm. You know, yeah. I just think to judge it by, well, I must do 1,000 words today is, you know, it's coming at it from the wrong angle. Unless you've absolutely got to finish something, I suppose, then you've really got to get your head down and just think it is all about word count. But I don't ever want to be there again. I was there a couple of times for the Potters, and I don't ever want to have to work like that again.
Yeah, I think maybe because I was a journalist, I have a slightly different approach. Because when I had the file card system, I used to write about between 1,500 and 2,000 words a day, because I reckoned that after 2,000 words a day, it got to be not very good. And now, when I find myself writing sort of sometimes, 5,000, 10,000 words a day on occasion, I just think, I used to think it got to be rubbish after 2,000. It's amazing how much you can kid yourself when you've got to do 10,000 to get the thing finished.
Well, yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. I don't know about you, but I always reach a point in a book where I feel completely bogged down, and it's making no sense to me, and I think this book is crap, and nobody's ever going to want to read this book.
Oh, I always do that. That's inevitable.
And I hate it, and I don't know how I'm going to finish this, and it's just awful.
And that's the day you need to take the next day off. And then you need to go back in and read it from start to finish, because you do reach a point, I think, where you are like this with it, and you cannot see it anymore. And I've certainly done that, I think, on every novel I've ever written. But on this one, I never got bogged down in the sense that I always felt driven on to complete it. I liked the plot so much. But certainly, I always have my days where I think, well, this is utter crap. And no one's ever going to like this. Yeah.
So the thing that always gets me through the last bit of the book, probably the last third of the book, when I really profoundly hate it and think it's the worst thing I've ever written, what always drags me through at that point is that I start thinking very seriously about the next book. Because the next book's always much more attractive than the book you're writing now. The next book is going to be the perfect
It's going to be the
book.
Best thing you ever wrote in your life.
Exactly.
That
it's got
is
a
so
much
true.
more scintillating plot. It's got much better characters. It's going to flow seamlessly as my fingers rattle across the keyboard.
Well,
and it's getting to that book.
How
that
worrying
gets
is
me
this?
Through.
I'm about halfway through the third, and I've just started plotting the fourth. And I'm only halfway through the third.
Well, that's the carrot, though, isn't it?
It is,
It's the
yeah.
carrot, because if I finish this book, I get to write the one I really want to write.
Yeah, that's so true, yeah.